You spoke in the beginning about the rapid change in the industry causing problems. I wanted to know if you think that students should try to keep up to date on things that they've previously learned, if by the time they graduate, it'll already be kind of evolved.
100%. Everything changes so fast that now it's incumbent upon all creators, not just students, but professionals, especially professionals that have been in the industry a while. The typical 30-year screenwriter that's seen and done it all. They find it difficult to really want to stay on top of things. I think students naturally, just because of the generation, they've grown up multi-platform, and they naturally learn all the new platforms and learn all the new stuff. But I think now we live in such an oversaturated, crazy, technologically advanced time that really, if you want to stay relevant, you need to figure out how to utilize and maximize and leverage the new platforms and the new touch points and the methodology that audiences are using every single day. And it's not necessarily because the theater is going away or Netflix is ensuring that everything streams. It's not necessarily that. I always put it in reference to the audience. And if you understand your audience and you can design to the audience, then you're gonna be a better creator. And if you start to see audiences operating on multi-platforms, if you start to see audiences really gravitating today into podcasts. Podcasts are very big, they're very popular today, whereas 2-3 years ago, not as much. And but if you see a big push into podcast, then all of a sudden that should clue you in to not just there's an opportunity on a platform, but to the mindset of the audience. And once you start to understand the audience, you will be able to take that psychology and lace it through how you're going to create your IP. I think a lot of the new platforms with mobile, with podcast, with like Alexa, Alexa, Google Home, all that stuff. I think understanding how that is starting to shift culture. Why are people using voice, and why is voice coming back? It's almost like we're coming back to like a 1930s radio era again. I think instead of being threatened by that creators, screenwriters, directors, authors, they should recognize that and use that as an asset and a tool to be able to leverage their IP into those things. What I typically get is, well, I don't know how to make a podcast. I don't know how to make an Alexa skill. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. And it's like you can't teach old dogs new tricks, and I just don't believe that. I tell a lot of people there's this amazing website that you can go to that teaches you how to do anything in the world. It's google.com. You go there, type in how do I make a podcast? How do I create an Alexa skill? How do I do something on IGTV? And you can spend 7 or 9 or 3 or 48 hours reading and learning how to do all this stuff. And all of a sudden, now you have an extra tool on your Batman belt as a screenwriter, as a producer, as a director, not necessarily to replace your movie or your television show, but to be able to augment it in a way that is flowing in line with culture. And that, I think, is empowering rather than threatening. So I'm a big advocate of never stop learning, especially as a creator, because if you never stop learning, you're always going to be in line with your audience.
Excellent. Anything else, gentlemen?
How do we differentiate between transmedia as like a marketing strategy compared to like a storytelling strategy? Should I be using transmedia in my storytelling part of it, or is it just a marketing ploy?
Sure. So historically, bad transmedia has been, I think, rooted in marketing. And what happened, nothing against marketing. Marketing people are great. You need good marketing. Marketing is not a bad term. It's not a pejorative term at all. But where transmedia breaks down is when creators push the transmedia off to the marketing people that really don't understand the story, or really they don't have the right to extend the story. And so a lot of times you will see marketing heavy transmedia pushes that are light on story, and it's more about, you know, just trying to exploit a medium, create an entry point for an audience, and there isn't a valuable extension of the story. So for me, the best transmedia comes from flows through the creator into all these touch points, to where now the mobile game and the comic book and the Facebook Live and the IGTV series, whatever it is, the podcast, they're not just marketing tools, they're storytelling tools. And the big difference is how much story are you getting? Or is it story first, or is it just promotional first? The more promotional it is, the less valuable it is to the audience. I always liken it to me and my wife have 2 dogs. We love our dogs. We're like weird dog people that like love our dogs too much. And so excuse me, I always use the analogy that you need to feed your audience and feed your fans like you feed your dogs. And that if that's the first lesson you learn as a kid, when you get a dog, is that you need to feed your dog every day. It's your responsibility. That's what my dad told me. He said, if we're getting a dog, you're going to take care of it. It's your responsibility to feed it every single day. And creators need to have that same attitude when it comes to their fans. It's their responsibility to continue to feed the fans. Don't slough it off into a marketing person or to a publicist or to other people, to PAs and interns. You need to now understand this as a creator. How do I feed the audience? Which then begs the question, what's the best food to feed the audience? The best food to feed the audience is story. It's as a Game of Thrones fan, the best thing you can feed me is Game of Thrones story. Right? Not necessarily a Game of Thrones commercial or trailer. I get excited about those things, but those are like sugar rushes, right? So if you eat a bunch of sugar, if you feed your dog just sort of junk, that may, if you feed it a treat, it may get excited, but that's not going to nourish them over the long term. And so the thing that nourishes the audience the most is just honest to God, good story. And so if you tell me as a Game of Thrones fan that there is great story delivered on Instagram, I don't care that it's Instagram. I go there for the story, and I consume that story, and now there's a brand equity that continues to strengthen to me for the Game of Thrones brand in general, because they fed me. And the more you feed your audience, the more loyal they are, right? Because I mean, if you don't feed your dog, what happens? They either die, they go somewhere else for food, they turn on you and eat you like Ramsay Bolton, in the Game of Thrones reference. But either any way you cut it, or your neighbor who has the food lures them away, right? And so now in an oversaturated environment, you have all these people running around saying, hey, come here, I'll feed you over here, I'll feed you over here. And now there's more competition in the marketplace. And so for me, the thing that differentiates marketing and transmedia is what kind of food are you feeding your audience? Is it story, or is it just promotional? And if the creator's involved and it's part of the creative vision, it's more likely than not will be more story than it is promotional. If as soon as the creator disconnects and hands it off to the digital marketing people, then they may call it transmedia, but it's probably just going to be a big marketing ploy.